Click the links to join channel, become a member, or check out the subscribe star, the various other links. So this might be Afro Hobbits 14. Rings of Power attacks fans and doubles down. Yeah, gee, who saw that coming? Evil can only create cringy Bolshevik propaganda. That's probably how that thing goes. What if the show just sucks? Well, why does it suck, bigot? It just didn't. Well, you must be bigoted. Yeah, okay, whatever. Go away now. You're not going to get my money for these subscriptions. No, you're not istaphobic. If you don't want to see Euro characters replaced, that's what the story is. It's a European story written, I don't know, 100 years ago when he originally wrote it. And he tells you in his many letters to people, this is an interesting quote, says the canons of narrative in any medium cannot be wholly different, and the failure of poor films is often precisely in exaggeration and in the intrusion of unwarranted matter, owing to not perceiving where the core of the original lies. Oh, well, I pretty well clearly laid it out there, didn't you? So why do they change it? Because they're Frankfurt School Bolsheviks, who even the left wing is kind of looking at this, who I presume these people are left wing if I remember right, and going, yeah, this isn't very good. It's just not connecting with, oh, they must be bigoted too. Yeah, everyone, is that the excuse you're going to use for every little piece of crap that if they don't like it and it happens to have these shields in it, like, oh, well, then we'll just raise those shields that you're istaphobic for not liking it. It feels like that's just an excuse for bad storyline. But no, you shouldn't have the shields in it anyway. It's based on, it's Lord of the Rings. We have the books that describe this universe. You're changing it. It has an organic story, and anytime you're getting away from that organic story, like, why are you doing that? Well, there's no answer to that isn't propaganda. What does updating the story means? It means to erase European characters. That's anti-European hate propaganda, to use their own lexicon nomenclature against them. The Marxists will try to create and corrupt the language because they're worms and parasites who destroy everything they touch. They're erasing the story from the story and attacking us by calling them what they are. It's like, these are just purveyors of propaganda. It's like, even people, although people on the left are going like, the story's just not very good, but, you know, people who are kind of more familiar with the culture war are going, yeah, this just feels like propaganda, because that's exactly what it is. So let me ask this. Does it feel like Lord of the Rings, or does it feel like propaganda made by the worst people on earth? When I read Lord of the Rings, I am imagining, this is their quote. So this is kind of a straw man, because listen, you're on social media, you're going to get all kinds of stuff. So you find like a couple of tweets where people say something rude, and then you issue this tweet. It's like, was it based on anything? It's based on a tiny, tiny little seed of people being a-holes on social media. And then they issue this virtue signaling tweet, and then it kind of changes the narrative that, oh, if you don't watch this show, you're standing with all these istaphobes. Like, no, that's just like, we know how these people operate by now. So no, when I imagine, when I read Lord of the Rings, I'm imagining a European folklore setting. If I wanted a non-European setting, I would have read that from the very beginning. There's no shortage of books set in other areas. The mythology that inspired this story is clearly European. To see a person of the light play the role looks like Bolshevik propaganda. They have a long history of destroying culture. What you saw in 2020 with the destruction of historical icons, what you see now with destruction of European history, is Marxism 101. The Frankfurt School has a list of what they do to destroy nations. What you have seen since about 1963 on TV with the slow introduction of degeneracy. I did a Odyssey Bit Chute video on how the globalist shift in TV started with Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. It was taken from an article I found. It started the shift away from the patriarchal structure and subverted it away from the family. You know, all the things that created what works, like all the stuff that functions, and to where it's like it slowly boils the frog to get us to this point now where things aren't doing too well. It all started. A lot of this started with TV and government schools, and with those two things, it's like, well, you can brainwash kids with that, and you can kind of also homogenize America and the West in general with TVs. I mean, the thing is, like, educating kids in government schools was just a huge L in a voluntarily giving your kids to a centralized authority. Well, it destroys individual education methods, and it puts people like they're all subjected to one centralized authority. And if that centralized authority is a bad actor, it gets subverted with these Bolsheviks. It's like, well, then all the kids are slowly going to be subjected to this brainwashing, and they'll move left, as you've seen before you now, where you have Antifa and BLM throwing and defacing icons of people who, in some cases, helped the Underground Railroad. So they spray paint over those icons, and you go like, if those kids investigated who those guys were, they probably wouldn't be spray painting over those icons. If they could read, yeah, sure. If they could read, they would, but most of them are pretty well illiterate. Anyway, Odyssey, Bit Chute, World Truth Video have great videos on the history of how the Bolsheviks destroy nations. It starts by subverting the culture, destroying the family, pitting different tribes against each other, and then calling anyone who notices istaphobic. They've been using this trick for a long time, and it's like, this can't possibly be true. My critical theory teachers and MSNBC didn't say it. Yeah, they didn't say it because they're all in the same team. The history is out there. It's not a secret, but it's also not allowed on the mainstream, and all the sites you have to go to investigate are going to be defamed as whatever. Everything you see around you coming from this Hollywood machine has been pretty well laid out in the studies of the Bolsheviks, not the specifics, but the general method by which they subvert and corrupt and erase people from their own culture. You're literally seeing it right now, but only against European people. They don't do it to the Africans or Asians because they consider them kind of as levers to use in their machinations. The early leaders, Engels, Trotsky, Mordecai Levy, literally wrote about how they plan to genocide Russians, Slavs, and Europeans in general. Like Schwab's crew talks about the useless eaters. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. You can please go fact check this stuff. Then, of course, they meant like you have to like genocide the wrong thinkers, the wreckers of progress. That's how they referred to them. Then, of course, they proceeded to, starve 60 million people and put millions of people in gulags. Their writings are well known. These Bolsheviks are monsters, and they're idolized by Hollywood and the useful idiots of Twitter and Antifa. The funny thing is, they're openly racist and against gays, but they still walk around with a Che Guevara or Moses Mordecai Levy T-shirt, and it's like, did you read? No, I read the highlights. Yeah, but I mean, maybe crack into some of the stuff that's not on the wiki. Some of their problematic. It's like, oh well, we'll do things differently this time. It's like you could say that about any group. Anyway, the woke cancer coming from Hollywood isn't selling, and it's not what the customer wants. So why are they doing that? Because cultural Marxism is a religion to them. It doesn't work on us because we have a strong core identity. There's studies on where propaganda works and where it just doesn't work on some people. You might Christian identity or Euro tribal pagan nationalism, or because we have a more analytical state of mind. Like before, this stuff never worked on me even before I kind of went down this tribal rabbit hole, because I had a different kind of background that it just like, I ask questions like, how skeptics? Yeah, skeptics on YouTube. Yeah, I'm skeptic. I want to see facts and evidence. Oh, no, that's it's kind of like the subversion of atheism when they went from like atheism to atheism plus. It's like, you just got subverted. Now you're just a propaganda arm. It's hysterical. Like how all these skeptics are only skeptical about some things. And it's good to see. I think there might be still some remnants of that on YouTube. Anyway, so cultural Marxist brainwashing, it doesn't work when subject to scientific or legal scrutiny. We ask for a logical argument, and then they provide an emotional one, so we just reject it. And social peer pressure doesn't work on people who have a higher calling, either through religion or pagan ancestor type of reverence. Like, who you are, and you have that core where you're working for something bigger. We know these people are the enemies. How many mainstream media articles do you need to research and find false and insanely biased before you realize, like, the mainstream media is literally propaganda? How do I know they're lying? Well, because their lips are moving. So, it's an example of kids will go, CNN said something, so I checked it on Wiki and Snopes. But after a few years, you realize, like, not only do they all lie, but they support each other in lies. I went down this Emmett Till rabbit hole. I'm going to make a video for Odyssey and Bit Chute about a lie that came out in an article. This guy wrote this article where he said that the accuser, the woman involved, recanted her testimony to him, and so the FBI investigated and go, oh, well, that's perjury. We have to investigate that. And so they investigated, and she said, no, I didn't. And then the FBI talks to the reporter and goes, okay, well, you recorded the whole interview. Where's the recording of her saying that? He goes, oh, I recorded the whole interview, but I didn't record that. Okay, what about your notes? You took notes for the whole interview. Where's your notes for this? I don't have those notes. So then the Chicago Tribune, which printed the article like 5 years ago, quietly removed the article and doesn't say anything about why they removed the article. It's in the archives, but it's, archive.is, you can find it. So then there were a ton of other articles that source that original false article, and they never updated their own articles. They just kind of went off that, oh, she recanted her testimony. And then you ask them, like, where's the evidence of that? And it's like, oh, this article's missing. Yeah, so you want to do a little further? Oh, yeah, she didn't recant her testimony. It's like they've been lying to you the whole time, and people believe it's confirmation bias. Like, yeah, both sides for sure do it. Everyone just kind of believes what they want to believe. But when you've got like the scientific method or legal analysis or any kind of logical like study of the classics or rhetoric or something, you just start asking questions and like, well, follow the money and who benefits and where's the evidence and like what's the issue analysis rule conclusion? Like, can we test this? Can we reproduce these things? Can we ask some questions? And as it turns out, it's like, oh, when you think through that way, you can't be brainwashed because you're constantly asking questions. You find out, like, that's why the left wants to censor and deplatform, because they know they fundamentally do not have the better argument. The thing that people talk about on Odyssey, they go, if we have free speech, if we have an open marketplace of ideas, we win. We will eventually win because we have better ideas. We don't censor. We don't have to censor or deplatform. We can have these talks and it's like, yeah, we're not shutting down speakers. They are. They're shutting down when a speaker goes to a college or university. It's like, yeah, they can't counter the arguments, so they have to be I hate to use brown shirts as an example, but you know what I mean. They have to shut that stuff down. Oh, kind of leads me to believe that they can't counter it logically. Yeah, that's a logical conclusion. So, I mean, why do you change a story? Well, there's no answer to that where the answer isn't propaganda. It's kind of they want you to it's a bait and switch, I guess. They want the customers to hear the name recognition and then buy the product, which is a streaming service, and then they can push this propaganda. But what pisses them off is we have social media to talk about this stuff and say, yeah, don't fall for the bait and switch, which affects their bottom line because people are not going to subscribe to this service or they're going to unsubscribe. So they call everyone who's, like people on YouTube, Phantom Menace, Comicsgate type of people who are writing these articles or doing these videos, those we're standing against istaphobicism. Well, yeah, so are we. We stand against istaphobicism too, but that applies to European people as well as African people as well as anyone else. We apply that blanket rule. Oh, we don't apply it against European people. Why? Because we hate them. Like, yeah, the left wing? Are you saying the left wing was the racists the whole time? Yeah, that's what we're saying, and there's plenty of evidence. But CNN didn't say it. Yeah, oh no shit. When their lips are moving, they're lying. Anyway, Like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Subscribestar, or join this channel and become a valued member. And there's like Subscribestar is a good way to keep in touch. It's only $2 a month, and I will see you guys all next episode.